In mid-April, over a span of 7 days, the narrative across a significant portion of alternative right-wing media abruptly shifted. Major conservative figures who spent years defending Donald Trump, led by personalities like Tucker Carlson, suddenly turned on him. It was a chain reaction. Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, voices that command massive, loyal audiences, all began launching attacks at the exact same time. The language they used was extreme. They began calling Trump a mad king and genocidal, with some even suggesting he was the Antichrist. These talking points were a mirror image of the rhetoric usually found on the far left fringe of the Democratic Party. These are the same influencers who have spent the last decade building a media ecosystem dedicated to shielding Trump from criticism and reinforcing his base. When a dozen independent personalities execute a total pivot on the same day, it suggests the change is not organic. It points to a coordinated external effort to reset their messaging. Geopolitical analysts identify these specific media figures as conduits for foreign messaging pipelines, whether those influencers realize it or not. Because these personalities have spent years broadcasting narratives that align with Kremlin objectives, analysts view this synchronized shift as evidence that Russian intelligence has updated the propaganda it funnels through them. This creates a contradiction for anyone who believes Vladimir Putin is allied with Donald Trump. If that were true, the Russian propaganda machine wouldn't be working to set Trump's own alliance on fire. This anomaly reveals that the public often misunderstands Russia's primary objective in American politics. There is a common assumption that Putin's goal is to keep a friendly or compliant president in the White House. In reality, Trump does not owe Putin, and Putin does not control Trump. Instead, the Kremlin views Trump as a figure who is uniquely susceptible to manipulation. Russia's overarching goal is to break the American political system so it can no longer function. For the Kremlin, a fractured, paralyzed America serves its global interests far better than a compliant American president ever could. The first phase of this strategy involved using conspiracy theorists to attack the traditional Republican establishment from the inside. This tactic successfully marginalized the party's traditional business, fiscal, and national security voters, stripping the old guard of its influence. But the breakdown of the old party structure had a side effect. It allowed the MAGA movement to rise and consolidate power in the resulting vacuum. Today, MAGA is the single most coherent and consolidated voting bloc in the United States. By dismantling the old Republican Party, Putin helped create a unified political monolith. Now, he is shifting his focus toward breaking that monolith apart. Because MAGA is currently the most powerful force in American politics, it has become the primary target of Russian efforts to ensure the system remains broken. The strategy is to use the media pipeline to drive a wedge directly through the movement. By forcing trusted media icons to attack Trump, the Kremlin forces the base into a choice between their media personalities and their political leader. The Kremlin is using global tension, like the conflict in Iran, to exploit ideological rifts and dissolve the unity of the bloc. The goal is not necessarily to remove Trump, but to set his alliance on fire and destroy its ability to function as a political force. The success of this effort depends largely on Donald Trump's own awareness of the situation. His historical blind spot is an assumption that these media figures and Putin himself are his genuine supporters. To counter this shift, Trump would have to accept that he is a target of manipulation rather than an object of admiration. If this succeeds, the MAGA movement faces the same fate as the traditional Republican Party, losing the capacity to function as a unified force.